All right, y'all, so we are progressing further up on the ocean side of Highway 17 in North Mount Pleasant. Going to roll through Charleston National today and give you guys kind of a little overview of the subsections or subdivisions that are inside of Charleston National's main subdivision. You come in, you've got a nice landscaped area. You've got a pool for people that are members of the club over to the right, and you've got tennis courts. And then a little play center for kids. Got a lot of tidal lakes back here and, various places to walk. The homes, again, built in the 1990s, mainly into the 2000s. And we're just going to run you again through some of the subsections. The first one as you come into Charleston National is St. Andrew's Place. St. Andrew's Place is where the main drag Linksland Road runs through, and Linksland Road is just one of the main roads. The left side of it sides the golf course, and over to the right goes over to 17. There's the Orchard and the Glen. These are subsections inside of St. Andrews. And over in the Orchard, those are smaller homes. I mean, I try to kind of, I don't want to say steer people away from that area, but you do pick up some road noise in the Orchard that you're not going to get in the rest of Charleston National from 17. So again, continuing down into the Glen's on Linksland Road. Most of these houses built back here were built by Syntex. Syntex is like Pulte Homes, their production builder. They built a pretty good home in the 90s. A lot of these that I have sold have, needed some things done to them, certainly updating. And some of them we had, some flashing issues. I don't think that was a common problem, but I have seen some that have had those types of issues. These are pretty decent sized homes. Most of these that we're riding through right now on the right and the left are pushing 2,800 to 3,000 square feet. Again, the ones to the left side, hole number 9. So just on the other side of the houses to our left is the golf course. And again, this is the Glen, y'all, and this is on Linksland Road. So if you're researching online, you're going to see generally a lot of houses that are for sale. If you see a lot of houses for sale in Charleston National, many of them are going to be on this road, which again is Linksland Road. And from here, we're going to spin around and go further back into the golf course. All right, y'all, so we're heading out of St. Andrew's Place and we're progressing further back into Charleston National. Up to our right is going to be the club. And again, it's a semi-private club, so you don't have to be a member to come out here and play. It was, again, the club was probably built in, I guess, probably the early 90s. And they've done some refurbishment to it over the years. I really think that it's not as nice a club as the Dunes West Club or Rivertown's club, but the golf course here is one of my favorite ones. It's not the easiest golf course to play because of all the water you have to carry and all the marsh you have to work around. But again, Charleston National is a great little place to play golf. Right up from the amenity center, we're going to go up to a subdivision called Egret's Point, and Egret's Point is mainly custom-built houses. A lot of them were designed by a local architect, Phil Clark, and these are 4 to 5 bedroom houses. 2,700 square feet, some of them up to 4,000 square feet. It just depends on which section you're in as far as Egret's Point goes. And there's actually some new construction back here. These houses over to our right are built by Saucy Burbank, which is a builder that builds, I think, around the Charleston area, maybe somewhere around it in Atlanta as well, but well-designed houses. They're elevated, so, you have pull-under parking. Some of them have elevator shafts, but most of them don't, unfortunately, because some of these were built a little older. But the raised house does give you the benefits. You get a little bit better view corridor. Mosquitoes generally don't fly up that high, so you can sit on the porch and you're not necessarily going to get popped with mosquitoes like you would if you were just sitting on a ground level house. We'll progress past the main golf center and we're going to go back to the Victory Point area. And this is a gated part of Charleston National. This is also where they have the golf academy. So back on this road, off to our right will be where the teaching area is for the golf center. And this is really a spectacular setup back here. You know, the back side of the golf course overlooks the Intercoastal Waterway, so in the back side of Isle of Palms. So it's really a beautiful setting. And if you want, honestly, if you want water access in Mount Pleasant, this is not a bad place to consider. So the houses back inside of Victory Point, you know, range in square feet from probably the smallest house I've seen back here has been about 3,000 square feet, all the way up to, I think there's one down at the end that's for sale that's about 8,000 square feet, and it's on the market for, I think, 3.2 million. But again, just a really nice setting. Unfortunately, today we're shooting the video is recycling and trash day, so if you see a little clutter on the street, it's a one-time or once-a-week thing. And this big house, this big stucco house, is the one that's on the market right now for, like I said, I think it's on the market for 3.2. You're not going to really be able to see it from where we are in the car, unfortunately, but it has spectacular long views out to backside of Isle of Palms, on out to Dewey's Island and Capers Island out into the ocean. So it's, you know, really nice setup. House to the right's on the market for about $875,000. It's a nice house. It still hasn't sold yet. They just finished it and it's available. It's very good finishes on the inside. All right, so from Victory Point, we're gonna go into another subsection of where they have the townhomes, and we're just gonna spin through there in just a second. We're into the very back of Charleston National, which is called the Retreat. And the Retreat is an area of about 130 custom-built, spec-built, 3-story townhomes that sit on some of these tidal lakes, as well as back up to the golf course. And these were built by a local builder. And I've sold probably 4 of these in the last year. A lot of people are using these as second homes. I mean, they have, you know, elevator shafts in them, so if you don't want to go up and down all these stairs, you're able to, you know, get up and down in the unit from underneath all the way up to the, you know, the 3rd level by using the elevator. They have granite, stainless steel appliances, you know, all the things you would expect in, you know, something in a $300-ish thousand price point. They range in square footage from 1,600 to 2,200 square feet. Back here, you buy into the club, so you have amenities, you know, pool and all the other things that you would want if you had, you know, as a primary residence or as a second home. Again, the ones that I've sold recently have been to people within a 3 to 5 hour range of Charleston that have been using as second homes. And I have one client that's bought and they're living here full time, and they seem to enjoy it. You know, I think overall quality of these is pretty good. I don't think it's like off the chart great, but I think that, again, for the price point, $300,000 is, and on the golf course, you know, it's kind of hard to beat that setup. Again, this is the Retreat inside of Charleston National. All right, so we came out of the back part of Charleston National and we're up to the front part, past the club, and it's called the Estates. And the Estates are probably some of the bigger houses that are not behind the gate in Victory Point. And a lot of the houses along the Estates back up to the golf course. Homes ranging in price, you know, I've seen everything from probably the low 4s to the 6s back here. I would think that your sweet spot would be probably about $500,000 for most of these houses. And these were built in the 90s, like everything else was back here. Some of them early 2000s. And, you know, you can see from the video we're shooting, there are a lot of brick homes back here. Some of them raised, some of them not. And again, this is a subsection that I ride people through and they generally like it. I think it has a little bit better appeal than Linksland Road. You have some elevated construction to take advantage of some of the views of the golf course and some of the wetlands that a lot of these homes back up to. And again, this is the Estates inside of Charleston National in Mount Pleasant, South Carolina. The last neighborhood as you're exiting the neighborhood is Charleston Green. And Charleston Green, in most cases, these homes are single floor living. So your master is going to be on the ground floor. The ones over to the right back up to the golf course. The ones over to the left back up to a woodlands buffer. And then there's some condos on the other side of that. And these back here generally turn, in Charleston Green, generally turn over pretty fast. So if you see any of these come online and you like them, I recommend, if you're close to buying, that you either get the Charleston to look at these or you give me a call where we can talk about them, because these are ones that, because of their size, I don't know, that single floor, that people really gravitate to. Again, this is Charleston Green inside of Charleston National. We're heading out of Charleston National. As we head out of Charleston National, we're just going to slide past these condos that sit back inside of the main entrance to Charleston National. They're condos, and they're called the Legends. And these were originally, and we're just going to look through there, they're originally apartments, and they turned them into condos, and now they're leasing them back as condos. So they're basically apartments. Some of them people have purchased, some of them people haven't. Again, this is Charleston National in Mount Pleasant, South Carolina, directly across the street from Carolina Park, which we have highlighted in past videos. And from here, we're going to go back into Daryl Creek. All right, guys, so we are off of Highway 17 up in the really far reaches of North Mount Pleasant, and we're going back into Daryl Creek. Before we go back there, we're going to ride through Austin Point. Austin Point is more or less a similar neighborhood to Daryl Creek. Houses that are built on at least a half an acre, some of them an acre-sized lot. And it's not very many houses back here. I'd say there's no more than about 20, 25 houses. A couple of them for sale, but it's a type of place that if you wanted more space between you and your neighbors and you didn't want a whole lot of homeowners restrictions, this could potentially be an area. A lot of these homes were built in the 90s, some of them built in the early 2000s, and there has been some new construction back here. But for the most part, Austin Point is older houses that people have built. It's almost like country living out here in Austin Point. All right, so down from Austin Point is Commonwealth. Commonwealth is a community of approximately 80 homes. It was developed in the 1980s, and it has that in the country type feel that some people like, some people think is a little remote. Home prices range back here from probably high fours at shooting of this video to probably 700, 800,000, just depending on their lot orientation. Some of these bigger houses, 2,000 to about 4,000 square feet. And it's, it's pretty secluded back here. From Commonwealth, you go more or less straight into Daryl Creek. Daryl Creek's located on the Wagner River and on Daryl Creek. And these homes, there's about 290 houses back here, houses and home sites. When it will be completely done, that's probably the number they're going to hit, right at 290 to 300. The house prices back here, 500,000 to a little over, probably $1.6 million, $1.7 million. I've had friends that live back here, and Daryl Creek, a lot of people like Daryl Creek for the kind of the country feel. Again, it's not like the other neighborhoods we've ridden through this morning. But, just getting back here, to me, off of the road to 17, from 17 to get back here, it's a little bit of work. And I think that if you don't mind that aspect of it, then Daryl Creek is probably something that you should check out, especially if you want some space between you and your neighbors, or you want a lot that has some sort of water orientation. Again, a lot of these are on lakes and creeks, and some of them directly access the Wagner River. Built by various custom builders, and some of these homes are built by spec builders. One of my favorite builders that builds back here a lot is Wes Whittle with East Tech. We've done interviews with Wes before, a great builder. He's built a lot of houses back here. It used to be that if you wanted property back here or you wanted land to build on, I would say Daryl Creek was the cheapest place to get a lot, but it's, lot prices are in the 200,000 and up range at shooting of this video, so it's not quite the value. I mean, 4 or 5 years ago, I sold lots back here for, I think I closed one that was like $90,000, and that same $90,000 lot is appreciated by about double. That kind of shows you what land prices have done in Mount Pleasant. That's one thing that has rapidly gone back up is land acquisition. So I always tell everybody, if you're considering building, that you need to, certainly talk to a good builder, but you need to look at the land prices, that your land acquisition cost is probably a little more than most people realize it's going to be. And again, we are in Daryl Creek, beautiful setting. You have one side of sidewalks and, again, lots of trees. Again, I have friends that have lived back here and they love living back here. So, don't let anything I've said in this video about Daryl Creek dissuade you. Come check it out for yourself, or give me a call and I'm happy to set up a tour. We've left Daryl Creek and we've headed over to Dunes West, and we're back inside the gates of Dunes West. We just got past the gate and we're going into Brickfall Estates. And Brickfall Estates is, one of the original subdivisions inside of Dunes West. These are, large homes sitting on large lots for Mount Pleasant. These are ½ acre to 1.5 acres. And again, most of them set up on the golf course. These homes range in square feet from probably, 4,000 square feet to 6,000 square feet. A lot of these houses are, large for our area. And most of them were custom built. Some of them were built by John Whelan. Again, John Whelan is the main developer on this community, and he has been from the get-go, but he sold these lots off, and again, private builders came back in here and built. And this, again, is Brickfall Estates. Really pretty setup, I think. All right, so we're into Osprey Cove, and Osprey Cove is just another subdivision inside of Dunes West, very similar to Brickfall Estates. A lot of space between these houses. The houses over to our right are on a tidal creek. If you wanted a dock, these are nice places to potentially have a dock. Again, Osprey Cove is one of the original subsections inside of Dunes West. Houses range 3,000 to 6,000 square feet. It's situated along Shell Ring Circle, which is the road we're on right now. The average price back here for most of these homes is probably going to be between $750,000 to, a little over $1 million. Some of these over to our left are not necessarily that high, but the average price, because of the lot size, is going to be a little bit more than what it would be in other places. And again, this is Osprey Cove inside of Dunes West. So we headed through Osprey Cove. Now we're in Wagner's Point, and Wagner's Point is mainly custom built homes, a lot of them on the golf course. 3,000 to 6,000 square feet for most of these houses, and most of them were built in the early 90s to very early 2000s. The thing that, again, people like about this side of Dunes West is it certainly has a lot of space between the houses. Plenty of room for a pool if you're wanting that type of setup. There's ample space to do a pool, and again, it's right on the golf course. And I've talked about Dunes West a lot in the past, but I played it last week actually, and it's in great shape for all the rain we've had on and off. Very, I think, easy golf course to play if you're not a great golfer. So again, that's Wagner Point. It's where Colonel Vanderhorst is the main road that goes through that, and we're coming off Colonel Vanderhorst right now. And we're going to take you guys down and show you the club and we'll do some more of the neighborhoods. All right, so hopefully you can see on one of the cameras that we have rolling, we're coming into the Dunes West Country Club area, and this is an Arthur Hills golf course, I believe. And as I mentioned earlier, it's one of my favorite ones to play. A golf course in Mount Pleasant that's not going to wear you out from, you know, just a lot of hard shots. It's a fairly easy golf course to play. The country club directly in front of us is built on the banks of Wagner Creek, and this is actually on the ruins of the old plantation that was here. So, yeah, it's a really cool setup, I think. They have social functions. Looks like they're having some sort of art thing out here today, possibly. And they have weddings. The tide is out right now, so you can see a lot of the pluff mud, which is pretty famous around here. This area is the country club part of Dunes West, and prices to join the club at shooting this video are a couple of $1,000s and then several $100s a month. But, you know, it's a pretty good value, I think, for country clubs. So up here by the club, you have some tennis courts. You also have a bigger sports complex that we're going to ride through on our way out of here. You know, this is just really for club members, for the golf club members. And you have a small pool area. And again, it all sets up right next to the main country club. One other neighborhood we're going to catch while we're over here by the club is one I like a lot, and a lot of times people tell me if they're downsizing and they want to not have a big yard but they still want to be in Dunes West. I think that the subsection we're going to ride through now has a lot of appeal for people that, you know, again, don't want to take care of a whole lot, want to be close to the club. And this subsection is called Hartford Village and Downing Place. So Downing Place and Hartford Village, basically if you went right, you're going to get to see the same thing that we're going to do as we go left. So Downing Place is just smaller houses that back up to the golf course. I believe that is hole one over to our right. And these houses were built in probably early 2000s to mid 2000s. I've sold a couple of these over the years. We did have one that we put under contract back here some years ago, and there were some grading issues, which the water wasn't getting out from underneath the house. So that's, you know, the experience that I had with that was not good. We ended up having to get out of the contract, but sold other houses back here and they've been fine. But again, it's, you know, you got little private courtyards, very little to maintain, and your walking distance to the club. And again, straight ahead is Downing Place, and we just rode through Hartford Village here in Dunes West. Right up from the club is probably my favorite section inside of Dunes West. It's called Marsh Landing. And Marsh Landing is, you know, really an area that has some gorgeous homes set back off the road in most cases. Some of them overlook the tidal creeks, some of them overlook the golf course. And Pignatelli Crescent is the road that we're on. So you're gonna see, you know, on average, and this is a fairly long road that we'll ride down. On average, you're probably gonna see 3 to 4 houses at any given time for sale back here. So if you see Pignatelli Crescent, this is the area that it's in. And I think it has, you know, a lot of appeal for people that want some space between their neighbors. I've had my buddies' parents live back here and they love it. I've sold a couple of houses to some retired age folks that wanted bigger space, that they really like living back here. But Dunes West, you know, Dunes West is really a place that I think it caters to a lot of demographics. And again, we're on Pignatelli Crescent Road. We we've left the club and we've come up to the newer section of Dunes West, which is called Harborside, and it encompasses a lot of neighborhoods that we're going to get to over the next little while, but we're going to ride you guys through the amenity center for Dunes West. And again, this is a separate fee. When you live behind the gates of Dunes West, you're paying at about $1,500 a year to maintain the gates and maintain all the green space that exists out here. If you want to be a member of the golf club, that's a separate fee, or if you want to be a member of the sports complex over here, that's a separate fee. They have, tiered memberships where you can get this and the golf course together for a couple $1,000 and a couple $100 a month, or you can get this as a standalone. So there's a lot of options. You have a fitness center up here. You have a pool that has all kinds of cool water features. You can maybe see through there, the water mushroom and the water slide. And then you have a pool for what I've been told is people with no kids, but I did see a kid in there the other day, so I don't know if that's they've changed their policy, but you do have 2 pools up here. You have clay court tennis, which is absolutely great as you get older. It's not so bad on your knees. And again, this is their sports complex inside of Dunes West. And really, it's hard to beat this, I think, outside of probably Daniel Island Park as far as amenity centers go inside of a neighborhood in the areas that we're covering, which are Mount Pleasant and Daniel Island. So again, we're inside of Dunes West. We will head that way next time, and today we're wrapping it up.